Okay, we're going to introduce you to the Jones Brothers podcast. I think this is number 9. I'm not sure. But anyhow, we're gonna have a guest today, and we'll introduce him in just a minute. But we're gonna introduce him in a way that might jog your memories. Here we go.
Barely hear it.
Don't worry, it's copying you.
Okay, Irv.
All right. Okay, that's kind of an opening, and I think Jimmy, this is your opportunity to introduce our special guest and stop moving your camera.
Well, our special guest is a great dear friend of mine, Kenn Moutenot, who played drums for Rick Derringer. He's a producer. He's a promoter. I can't say enough about Kenn Moutenot. And Mike Tyson, you'll be seeing this. Kenn has something to talk to you about. I'll run it by you later. Anyway, Kenn Moutenot, how you doing, brother?
Great, Jimmy. Great, Irv. I'm so proud and honored to be on your podcast. Fantastic. So proud of you guys.
We're happy to have you on here. Boy, the story of what you have done in music makes me look like I'm back in the beginning days of music. Kenn Moutenot, wow. It's an
No,
honor having you on, brother.
Jimmy, you did so much for live music in the state of Pennsylvania from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. You've had so many great concerts and made so many great artists happy. All the
Yeah, I
friends
did. That was
all the friends you have in the music business, all the big managers and agents and artists. I mean, there's too many to mention.
Well, why don't you two guys start out a little bit with
yeah. I'm gonna get to
talking about.
John Meglin, by the way, Kenn. I'm
Uh-huh.
forgetting John Meglin. Go ahead, Irvy.
Okay, well, you guys start out with where you started. I'll tell you where I started, and
Yeah, go ahead.
I started with the first rock and roll song I sang. No, I didn't sing it. I heard it. Well, it was at the West Wyomissing Playground, and it was a festival, and and Jesus, what is this shit? I knew exactly what I was going to say. Now I can't remember what I was going to say. It
Well,
was
we were talking about Hang On Sloopy. You were talking about Hang On Sloopy.
Yeah, but that wasn't the first song I heard. This was oh, whatever it was. It was a long time ago, but I
Back
wasn't interested.
probably Beethoven or Schubert back.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that kind of music.
It
Uh,
wasn't that long ago. Hey, Irv.
no, but the
Elvis Presley, Irvy, or what?
oh, it was way before Elvis Presley. But
How
then
about Tommy Dorsey or Fats Waller or Count Basie?
Yeah.
no, it wasn't those guys. It was somebody that I can't.
Or James Brown, who I promoted and worked the road with.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, this was all way before that. This was back in in the early 50s. Uh, if I if I could remember it,
Chuck Berry, the
no,
twist.
it
Yes,
was
that's it,
before
right?
Chuck Berry. It gosh shit. Anyhow, so go on, guys.
How about Perry Como?
No,
Well, I promoted Andy Williams' Christmas special, Ken.
There you go. There you go.
I probably told you that. I don't know.
So maybe I should jump into telling you about that excellent performance with the late and great Mr. Rick Derringer, how we ended up at Ohio State University with the marching band playing
Yeah.
Helen Sloopy in front of 106,000 people. So what happened was Rick
I
had,
promoted Rick even before we met.
that's right. Well,
I promoted Rick a lot before we met, Ken.
I knew that. I knew
I
that. He knew you.
promoted him twice.
That's right. So in
Hmm
1965, Rick did Hang On Sloopy. And at that time, the
Yeah,
marching
he was 17, right?
he was
16.
17 years old. And the marching band of
Wow.
Ohio State University started playing that song on their jukebox right when it came out in Ohio State, all around the nightclubs and the bars and at the school. They all would play that song on the jukebox. And one day,
Yep.
uh, all the band members of the band, marching band, they went to the marching band director's home and they said, "Hey, we'd like to play Hang On Sloopy in our curriculum at the college."
Wow.
So what happened was they started playing it, and everybody loved it so much that for 50 years they've been playing it at every single game.
Hang on,
Every single
Snoopy. Wow,
game
my.
they play Hang On Sloopy. Now, Hang On Sloopy at that time became a number one song, putting the Beatles yesterday out of number one to number
Wow.
two. And we have a big movie. There's a movie actually that is coming out called Sloopy the Movie, which is all about
Oh
our
my
adventure.
God.
Yes, it's really incredible, done by a man named Dave Winham, and it's really an incredible movie with Rick Derringer and the Ohio State Marching Band and the whole origin of how it happened. So what was great was I asked Rick. I said, Rick, for 47 years you've been playing Hang On Sloopy, and the marching band has been playing Hang On Sloopy for 47 years. So what about if I go to Ohio State and try to convince them to do it together, to have a 50th anniversary? And sure enough, God willing, I put it all. I won't go through the hoops that had to happen, but it
You
all
like
happened.
the idea?
It all happened. They loved the idea. I flew out to Ohio. We had some tribute concerts for Rick's 50th anniversary in Ohio, and it was really an incredible time. And there's a movie being made. It was 10 years ago. It was
Wow. Yeah.
2015 was when we did this. So that was really an
Well,
incredible.
wasn't there a time, Ken, when he really didn't want to play that song? He like a
No,
lot of artists, like
he's always embraced the songs that the fans loved that he did.
because he
So
changed his style when he was really, focused on guitar playing, rock and roll,
did,
hoochie
he
coo. I
did,
thought he let Hang On Sloopy. He didn't want to
he
play
did,
it.
he did, and Rick, who we just lost, very recently, um, due to
Right.
diabetes. We're trying to put together a concert that'll help benefit the American Diabetes Association in his honor. And we're talking to a bunch of big all stars right now to put together a New York show. So we'll see if that happens. And
Right.
Rick basically, just to give you some background on Rick, after he was in um, the McCoys, which is his band that did Hang On Sloopy, he went on in 19
Yeah.
early late 69, 70 to go on and play with Johnny Winter, Edgar Winter, Alice Cooper, Kiss. He started Weird Al Yankovic. He did Cyndi
Well, you know what
Lauper.
I did, Ken, don't you? I think that's
What's that?
how we met. I talked to each one separately. You remember that?
Johnny, Rick,
I
and
talked
Edgar.
to, yeah, but they all got, I
No,
contracted each
you
one
did the big
separately,
show.
and they found out they hadn't played together for 17 years.
No, 35
And I
years.
got the idea to put the three of them.
It
What's
was
that?
35 years they haven't played together.
But I put it together. I'm sure you were there. It was at the Scottish Rite in West Reading, and the
No, of course,
agents picked
not
up
only
on
was
it.
Jimmy, not
The
only was
agent
I
said, "Oh
there,
my God, you got the three of them to play," but I
Jimmy,
already deposited them. Rick, they all got, they all really got comfortable at the debate. It was great.
well,
The three of
Jimmy,
them together,
I
the
was,
place was packed.
Jimmy, I was not
I
only
think that's
there.
how we met.
Yeah, I was
You
not
were
only
playing
there.
drums for Rick, probably.
I was not only
Wow.
there. I was not only there with you. I brought them to Germany for 5 sold-out shows. Johnny, Rick, and Edgar.
Yeah, well, Rick said to me, he said, "Jim, great idea. They were going to allow me to do the East Coast. I didn't have the funding. So I think Live Nation picked it up, or Larry Maggot did.
Yeah, well, I took them
From
for 5 sold-out shows in Germany, right?
right?
So
Mm-hmm.
no, we have a long history together. And to go back to Rick after he produced all the World Wrestling Federation albums. He worked with Barbra Streisand. He
Yeah.
was the one that helped
Wow.
formulate Steely Dan. He, was on all of those hit songs, Total Eclipse of the Heart, Bonnie Tyler. He played on Air Supply albums. He was involved
Wow, I didn't know that.
he was involved in the song Kiss, Lick It Up. He was the guitar player. He did so many things. He has over 500 credits and is one of the most beloved producers, performers, guitar
Yep.
heroes, singers in the world, in the world of rock music. And the only person that rivals Rick Derringer is basically Eumir Deodato, who I'm here with right now, who did all the Kool in the Gang and all the Roberta Flack and did Frank Sinatra and did Earth, Wind, and Fire and Phil Collins. I mean, the list goes on with Deodato. But
Wow.
Rick Derringer, what an honor and what a godsend that I got to not only be a fan, but then it turned into me being a friend and being
I
eventually
know.
becoming his drummer and his singer, background singer and his manager for 15 years.
I
So
know.
it's been really a blessing to.
I told Mike Tyson a quick story how you and I we uh, we together we're going to manage Buddy Miles. Remember that?
Absolutely. Well,
You
I did
remember
manage
that?
Buddy. Of course, and I
I
managed
called
Buddy.
Buddy Miles. Ken, I called Buddy Miles and I told him I knew you. And the phone call, I thought I wanted to book him. But the phone, I said, "You know Kenn Moutenot." That was it. We talked for a good hour
No, he lived
about
in
Kenn
my home.
Moutenot. I mean, he was like, "Yeah, can you get him involved?" And I said, "Of course, of course." Then he passed away. I told a
Yeah,
quick
well, of
story to
course,
Mike Tyson about that.
Buddy lived at my home.
But he was a talented guy that people
One of the
don't
most,
know.
one of the most, and he, I was with Buddy, as you know, from 1995, uh,
Yeah,
1994, pardon me, to 2000. We did over almost all around the world. It's so many big shows together. What an honor to work with these
what a talent!
masters.
What a talent, Ken Buddy Miles, that people are not
I
aware
mean,
of.
what a teacher! He was like a mentor to me on the drums and singing, obviously.
Oh
And
my God!
it's so funny. When my son was born, Buddy wanted to be the godfather. My son was just born, and now my son is a big producer and a drummer himself. It's really amazing how it's all went full circle with Buddy and Rick Derringer, and then
Wow!
Hippie Fest. We did Hippie Fest. I think we did in 2018. That had Badfinger, and that had the Family Stone and Mitch Ryder, your friend Mitch Ryder of the Detroit Wheels, and Vanilla Fudge. And I mean, we're so blessed to play with so many great artists that we grew up with, and now handling and managing
No,
booking them is just like beyond any dream that could ever be had. And so now, bring you up to date, gentlemen. I've done 5,000 concerts, not as many as the Jonas Brothers, but I've
Ah!
no, I have done more than the Jonas Brothers at this point because they're younger.
The
But I
Jonas
know that
Brothers.
Yeah, Irving, the Jonas Brothers are.
I
I know
I
that.
don't I don't know if you've seen any of the stuff on TikTok about the Jonas Brothers.
Well, I know that you guys are in competition with them.
Oh,
So
I don't even know who the fuck they are. And all of
Oh,
a sudden I hear by the grapevine they're out to get Jimmy and I.
you
So
got to no, they're the nicest guys. By the way,
oh yeah,
they're
the one
from
that
New
was on The
Jersey.
Voice, a real nice guy.
They're from New Jersey. They're from like Hawthorne, New Jersey, somewhere
Any
around there.
questions, Irving?
what?
Their father is a preacher. They are
Yeah,
very good friends with Taylor Swift, who you know from Pat Garrett. They are very good friends with Justin Bieber, who, by the way, Justin Bieber is family with Deodato here, and there's
yeah, I
just so
know.
many blessings we have being in this business at the right time before AI. AI is going to take over human music. So we really were at the time of life where music was real. Music was played by real
Yep.
musicians with talent. They weren't just pushing buttons, and they weren't tuning their
Taylor
voice.
Swift sang for me at 13, Ken.
Pardon me.
Taylor Swift sang for me at 13 at the flea
I
market.
remember. I remember. I mean,
Oh,
we there's so much.
I
I
told
mean,
you about that. Yeah, I know Taylor Swift well.
of course, of course. I mean,
well,
pretty much.
she's a friend of mine on TikTok.
Oh, I'm sure she is. I'm sure she is, and she's as you know, since the time
She
she was
wrote
little.
a song about me, Irving. Did I send it to you?
No, he didn't send it to me.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
send it to you.
the thing is, when she came from Pennsylvania, and you guys like Pat Garrett, you all helped her career and sent her down to Nashville. She's one of the biggest stars that's ever
Yep.
been.
Yeah, well,
She's
she
Yeah.
she
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
she
she's like
actually grew up or in Pennsylvania, and Jimmy and I
Yeah, in Lincoln Park, Irving, right near me.
yeah, but
right,
she lived in Wyomissing too at one time.
Mhm.
And
right.
She was in Wyomissing. Jimmy and I were in West Wyomissing. So we were about what, maybe 2 minutes apart. But she
Right.
was a hell of a lot younger than we were. And then Jimmy said she went to Lincoln Park. Well, I that's just as close. That's the southern end, and uh, but anyhow, you guys, what is your entanglement together wi- uh,
Well, I mean,
with
if
the
I may,
actor?
I knew that Jimmy was a very successful promoter in Pennsylvania, and that a lot of people respected Jimmy from all of his years of putting on concerts with so many people. So then once I got to meet Jimmy, and then you got Rick and Edgar and Johnny. Then I remember
Yeah,
Jimmy.
you were in a parking lot of that show, and I was standing out there having a cigarette, and I heard you talking to Deodato. Remember that? That's how we
That's
met.
right, I do, and also then I remember the Gino Vanelli show, and the
Oh yeah,
Dave Mason show.
yeah.
You're
Dave
playing
was a
all
good
this
friend
stuff.
of mine. I haven't spoken to him for a while. He had a real tragedy with his son. Kind of like
Yeah,
really rocked his
yeah,
world.
and all the people from the band, Garth Hudson and
Oh yeah,
and
Rick Derringer. I mean,
Rick
Danko and I were
Danko,
like brothers.
everybody.
He lived above the bar. His wife was there, and
That
through
was
her
who we
wedding
went to
band at
see in New
Danko, he
York.
said, "I'm going to
We went to see
And then you
Garth.
guys,
Beaversville,
and
Bearsville. We all
yeah,
went up there
Bearsville, right up in
after
Yeah,
Mom died
actually Todd
to
Rundgren
hang
is
out with
playing
the
up there.
band.
Todd Rundgren is playing up there this
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
So no, I mean,
Oh, okay.
there's so much,
He just
so
turned
much respect,
77,
for him,
Todd.
so much history. So
I
many,
just, he's good, man. Ooh.
so many things we've seen. With Deodato, Rick Derringer, and Buddy Miles, I've been around the world 10 times. I can't remember having a bad day ever. So, we're all blessed by God, and we can't forget how thankful we should be for everything that we got. We're all still here. We're all still healthy. We're all
Uh-huh.
still doing amazing
Well,
things.
the last time we were together, Ken, was when you invited me down to the 50th Woodstock anniversary. You couldn't
Now,
use the name. That was a
now, how
great
about that?
weekend. It was
How
unbelievable.
about
The
that?
band there.
They said it couldn't be done. There was a Woodstock 50th anniversary, and
Yep. You got to hear this one.
Michael Lang, who had the original Woodstock, respectfully, had his Woodstock being built in New York for
Yeah.
$70 million. Well, we ended up putting together all the authentic bands of Woodstock for in North Carolina, and it was like one of the best reunions for musicians
It was
that ever
great.
happened. There was everybody from the Family Stone to 10 Years After to John Sebastian to
I was sitting inside of John Sebastian. He's pissed off I was smoking a cigarette.
well, there was so many people there. I mean, so many stars. Mountain and Badfinger and Mitch Ryder and Melanie, God bless her.
Melanie passed away then, yeah.
She did. She was such a dear
Wow.
friend. I mean, I'm so honored to be friends with so many of these heroes that, I grew up
All of
just
them.
loving their music. And it's unbelievable that I have the pleasure of working side by side or playing drums or managing
And
or
playing. Yeah.
and playing. I mean, that's really the ultimate goal, is that if
Yep.
I book them and everything goes right, I get to play the drums and sing.
And
I
you
mean,
got to see Kenn Moutenot play the drums. Unbelievable.
that's the big payoff, is getting to play. And now my son Ryan is 26, and he is a top drummer and a top producer, working at some of the biggest studios in the world, doing 8.1 Dolby Atmos mixing. I mean, the young people today, the techno geeks of today, with AI and all
Yeah.
the tools they have, they're so smart. But at the same time, they're all sucking up the music we grew up on. They're sucking up the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and all the bands of yesteryear. They love that our music. We didn't know our music was going to be so long lasting, and it really is. It really, it's not stopping. I mean, Aerosmith. We're doing a new movie now on Rick Derringer. It's almost complete, and it's amazing. It has 15 Rock and Roll Hall of Famers in it from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It has Gene Simmons and Joe Walsh, and I mean, I could just keep going down the list. All the greats, Johnny and Edgar.
Oh,
Um, it's an amazing movie that tells Rick's story in full. And I'm also writing a novel about Rick. So my thing is preserving the legacy of these great artists that have so long been touching billions of people, and I want to preserve their legacy. So the big thing now, Jimmy and Irv, is handling their royalties, because everywhere in the world, ASCAP and BMI, there's royalties to be paid as a performer, as a producer, as a writer, as an arranger, as a conductor. There's so many different royalties to be picked up in each country around the world because of Spotify and all these artists. That's what I've been concentrating on in the last 4 years. I've been concentrating on the royalties and making sure these artists get their correct royalties, because they're worth, really, in the 9 or 10 or 11 figures. They're worth tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars for their catalog. All these guys are hit makers, and their songs are in perpetuity, are worth billions of dollars. So right now, I'm just trying to preserve the legacies of people like Deodato
right.
and
I,
even Rick
I
Derringer.
have the honor with all the music history
Yeah,
through, because of Mike Tyson. I met iconic producer Ryan Coogler, Ken.
nice.
And what was transpired about the movie that's coming up, and he is a real class act. Met him through Mike Tyson, and that is coming about. Things are just happening at 80 that I never thought would happen.
Well,
But a
Yeah, you
real
know what?
class act, Ryan Coogler.
Isn't it?
Jimmy,
Isn't it? It's funny that we're always trying to become relevant, and then when we least expect it, God makes us relevant. Look at Irv; he has 1 million views, and no,
Yeah,
no, no problem.
Irv's 500,000 people love Herb Jones.
I mean, I have millions of views. Over the last 10 years, tens of millions of views, hundreds of television shows, dozens of movies or radio
Right.
interviews. I mean, there's just it's such a pleasure to get to talk about all of these great stories and go all these great places. Jimmy, we went on to do Indonesia, Africa, all over Asia, all over Europe, Finland many times, even Russia. We've been with the Putins. We've been with so many presidents. We in Belgium. We've just done so much. It's almost like a fantasy come true. I mean, and you too. You guys have done so much in your lives, and it's amazing. We're all still
Oh,
here to talk about it.
Yeah, all still here.
you want to hear my
That's amazing.
song? Did you hear it?
Jimmy,
Ken, did you see my new rap song?
what?
Mike Tyson has a great video of a rap song he's doing.
Oh, that's great. Well,
You
you know
don't
what?
see it,
I
Ken.
guess he has a great producer, but remember, we have our studio in full bloom. So if he wants to come record here, he can.
Well, how about you guys start
Yeah, I got to get a hold of John Hasbro.
uh,
Stage.
Jimmy? You guys talk about where the Astor became part of both of you.
The what?
The Astor Theater. You remember that?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Astor
the
Theater.
kid didn't know that. We didn't know each other then. Hell, I was only 35.
No, we were more working on Scottish Rite Cathedral works.
Well, that's yeah, okay. Well, that's part of that legacy.
Well, Ken
Right,
knows all about the Astor. Everybody does.
right, right.
An iconic spirit. I really, everybody played there.
Yeah, everybody's played at all of these places. It's really, and a lot of these groups are still out performing. I've been in touch with Vanilla Fudge. I've been in touch with Jefferson Starship. I've been in touch with a lot of these groups. They're
Wow.
out. They're out there doing it. Doing it great too. A lot of them are really doing a great job, and they love the road. They love the activity. They love the action, and yeah, even since the pandemic, though, I've been concentrating more on royalty collection. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I met Johnny Manziel on TikTok, Ken.
Okay.
The quarterback, Johnny Manziel. What a
Sure.
nice
Sure.
guy. Remember
Amazing.
that name, Johnny Manziel?
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah, remember the name, Ken? The
Of
quarterback.
course.
What a nice guy. So many people have met on TikTok.
Yeah. TikTok is really is a fantastic vehicle. All of these social
Yeah,
media
if we can get it
platforms.
straightened out. Hmm.
And I want to keep you guys posted on this big, big Rick Derringer tribute we could be doing in New York that'll have so many stars. I want to invite you guys if it comes to life. Also, if I may mention, I have that 37 acres property up in New York State,
Yeah,
up
we
Yeah.
in
went to see that.
up in Bethel, New York. Now, since we went up there, the Bethel Woods Performing Arts Center has now in 2025 been known to be the best music venue in North America. There's an article right now. It says the best venue in North America is the Bethel Woods and Museum. They
Yep.
have an amazing museum. They just built the resort's gigantic multi-billion-dollar casino. It's all right next to our property. So right now we're getting ready to go up to our property where we have all the equipment and everything. And next year we'll start doing special sort of boutique events, like VIP events, because they have 25,000 people at the Bethel Woods. They'll have the big concerts, but we're going to have some little more intimate VIP shows because it's walking distance
How
from
was
the Bethel Woods.
Derringer doing prior to his passing away, Ken? How was
Pardon
he?
me?
Was he bedridden or what?
Well, Rick, what happened with Rick was he had diabetes for a long time, and it got a little bit out of control to the point where it
Okay.
affected his heart, and he had to have a triple bypass about 3 months ago.
Oh,
and I was with him in Florida at the Advent hospitals. He was at two different hospitals, and he had the triple bypass. And then because the diabetes was not treated for so long properly, he ended up getting an angioplasty in his leg, and he ended up going to rehab. And he was rallying. He was doing really well. He was, we were talking on the phone regularly, and he said to me, Ken, I'm getting better. I'm feeling better. I'm getting better each day. And then he went home, and he only was home for about 10 days. And there was an episode where something happened to his heart. They rushed him to the
yep.
hospital, but by that time it was too late. So, but he had so much courage. He was happy until the end. He never complained. He was like, one of the best guys ever, as you know. One of the nicest, kindest human beings, and
Oh,
talented and humble. I was, like Deodato, they're humble heroes. They're like, they're always in awe of what they do. They're always, their ego isn't big. They're always in awe. So, yeah, Rick, I'm so honored again to share, over 500 concerts with him, and go around the world with him. And there's so much more to do. We have a lot more to do. There's movies coming out. There's movies to be made. There's, this Mike Tyson thing is cool because I know a lot of the boxers, Tim Witherspoon, Burt Cooper. There's a lot of the boxers I've worked with at some training camps. So that's really exciting. I remember Mike Tyson from the China Club in New York City up in the 70s. There,
he'll be watching this, but
there used to
yeah.
be a regular Wednesday night, and Mike, he was always there. It was the greatest club, and he was the greatest fighter of all time. And I know that everybody loved him. I even know some women, some gorgeous women that he's dated. Fantastic, gorgeous. I know them personally. I still know them, but they've dated Mike, and everybody says he's one of the greatest guys, not only the greatest fighters, but really a sweet, kind man. Besides all of his beating up people. So,
Those
wow, this
lines
is incredible, guys. I
on me.
really appreciate you taking the time, to do this, especially, with all you have going on. I know you have so many guests that want to be on your show, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, you're the first one, and we're really glad to have you. In fact, I think it
Awesome.
was a couple shows
Yeah.
ago.
Right.
Jimmy and I were talking about that, and he was supposed to reach out to you, but uh,
That was
but as would be that 80-year-old mind just doesn't remember some things. But this has been great. I've
Well,
enjoyed.
remember, guys, 80 is the new 40.
Well, we have to go someplace and have Chinese food again.
There you go. I love that. And just so you know, I
New
have
York.
my new home in
Nice.
Florida. Maybe you guys will consider coming down some winter and visiting. I have a beautiful place on the water. It's gorgeous. Or I'm here in New Jersey, or I'm up in Bethel, New York. So it's a whole trilogy.
Yeah,
So let's.
Wonder if John Regna's still around.
I remember your place in
Ken, is
Newark.
John Regna?
What's that, Jim?
John Regna. Remember him?
Yeah, of course. The great agent. How's he doing?
I don't know. He's in Florida. I haven't spoken to
Oh,
him
I
for
don't
a
know.
while.
I'm sort of out of the loop for the last 4 years, but the
I haven't
50th
spoken to
anniversary
him.
of Woodstock, that was the last that was one of the greatest events, huh, Jimmy?
I loved it.
Yeah. No,
I
there's been
loved it.
so
It
many
was
great
great.
times, and so many more to happen. So
Go on about one
yeah, just make sure you don't take
time.
all the fans from the Jonas Brothers.
Well, as long
Okay.
as they don't come and get Jimmy and I, we're fine.
They're pretty peaceful. They're probably praying for you.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
yeah, I know.
And
Well,
no, you guys. Who knows? Maybe you'll have them on. How about that?
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Maybe you should ask them. Maybe you should say the Jones and the Jonas Brothers are going to collaborate, and you may have 100 million people watching. Who knows?
All right. Well, maybe if they watch this, they'll hear
All right.
that. Maybe
There you
it'll
go.
go.
Well, I live. I'm from New Jersey, right
It
down the
was
street
great.
from
We
them.
had
So
Kenn Moutenot.
give them my
You
regards.
can't get them. This guy's
Okay. All right, everybody. This kind
okay.
of brings us to the end. Uh, Peace, love, and charity to everyone. Join us again on the next podcast. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank
Bye.
you, everybody. Thank
Bye.
you, all
Jimmy,
the
say
fans.
goodbye.
God bless you. Take care.
Bye bye.